Hi, so I just wanted to give a little overview of a technique I had done to me today. It's called advanced timeline. There's a few variations of this. I went into this technique with my present state being that I felt like I was addicted to adrenaline. Um, I'm currently looking at like trying to understand a little bit more about ADHD and the symptoms and if that's applicable to me. But I also feel like I don't know if this is just a learned behavior um, that has reappeared in my life. So my present state was feeling like I was addicted to adrenaline, always feeling like I was under the pump, putting heaps of pressure on myself to get things done, to get things right. But without understanding that by doing that, I was just putting so much pressure on my life that I wasn't enjoying anything. I wasn't finishing anything. I was making life more difficult for myself. And my desired state being that I wanted to like have a harmonious household, to be calm, to not be feeling like I was always constantly running from one thing to the next. So I linked up with Jo, who's a newly graduated master practitioner of NLP with Elite, and she was amazing. She did a really, really good job. We started just by kind of exploring what was going on for me. I tried to answer some questions, and I kept kind of getting a little bit stuck on the like, why do I go to adrenaline as my feel-good hormone? Why do I see it as like a positive hormone to have in my system 24/7? And in the end, we just decided Jo would trance me out, which she did. And once I was in trance, I could really access the answers to those questions a little bit more. So we discovered that my addiction or my like consistent need for adrenaline is more about using adrenaline to seek connection with other people, whether that's at work or in relationships or in my family. Adrenaline is this fun, exciting thing that creates like happy hormones and really just like, brings people together. And I'm all about like adventures and having fun and spontaneity, and that is obviously a big part of it. But the negative side of what the adrenaline was bringing up was, even though my positive intention was for connection and for getting stuff done, it was putting a lot of pressure on me. I was putting pressure on myself. It was creating drama so that I could give myself more adrenaline, so I could do more things. It was making me believe that my value, like the value that I hold, was linked to how much I was getting done and how busy I looked and how how exciting I was. And then Jo did an advanced version of timeline. So we actually went back to the day that I was born, and I felt like looking forward into my life. My whole life was just encompassed in this need to always be like on, to always have adrenaline, or to always like be seeking fun and excitement and like never kind of stopping or resting. And so being that it started basically from the day I was born, I think my first memory is from 8 months old of having this. We actually looked into my past, into my like previous generations, and realized that my dad had a lot of that, and then my granddad had that. But it started in the family when he was about like early 20s, working in remote areas, as well as wanting to get married to the love of his life, my grandma. And in doing so, being worried when he was away from them, away from my dad and my uncles and my grandma, being full of adrenaline to make sure that he was always switched on, he was staying safe at work, he was able to get home to them when he was finished his job. And then when he was home, he was full of adrenaline to try and get stuff done and do all the jobs that needed fixing before he had to go back to work. And in that, he was doing a lot of jobs, but none of them to completion. Now, I don't know if this is 100% true. I haven't verified this with my grandma. My granddad has since passed on. But that was true for me. In my unconscious today, that was where using adrenaline both for safety and security, as well as using adrenaline for connection and relationships, started showing up. And so I addressed that in my granddad's time. We cleared his lifeline, and then we moved to my dad's, and being that would cleared my granddad's lifeline, my dad's lifeline events of needing adrenaline for connection as well as for safety and security started to disintegrate. There was a couple of events where it hadn't disappeared, so we resourced that and resolved that, and then we moved back to my timeline. Instead of my timeline just like being a single colour of this is when the event happened, because we usually just drop markers, it was just covered in markers. It just looked like a single coloured line. And we addressed the 8-month-old kind of initial event of like adrenaline being considered a good thing, for connection and safety and security. And then after that, a lot of the colour of my timeline disappeared, and I was just left with a couple of events when I was in primary school, I think one in high school, one in my early 20s when I started work as a nurse. Adrenaline really came into that a lot. And then one later in my 20s, and one more recently, which is when all this stuff started to really show up again. And we've realised there's a couple of things that, like extra techniques that I'm going to be doing, hopefully on myself, just to like complete the resolution of this for me. Although, as we say in NLP and in many other areas of life, there is no arriving. But I'm feeling really good. I'm actually feeling really like calm and just present to my body, which is something that I don't really ever remember being very often. Oh, look at me go. And I'm not feeling like I've got to like, oh quick, like I finished this session, like I've got to quickly like get up and I've got all these things to do and I've got to go do them, or like I'm not worth anything as a person. Like that's not there anymore, which is pretty amazing. Yay. So this technique is very new. It's a big technique. There's a lot of, it felt in my brain like there was a lot of changes being made. So I mean, I've started seeing results already in that I'm feeling different in myself. A lot of my like anxiety and adrenaline fueled gotta get this done has gone. But this technique will keep settling over the next few hours, few days, few weeks, and I'm excited to see what happens, and I'll keep you updated. Bye.